Okay, guys, another Trading Vault episode, and we've got Ruan Landsberg this morning. And some of you don't know, it's quite an early start. And I was just mentioning to Ruan, if you've got two little humans that you are responsible for, everything does not go as planned. And but we're here, excited to do the call. Ruan, if you can just introduce yourself to the listeners and to the viewers, I would appreciate that.
All right, perfect. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It is quite early. I'm not a morning person. Obviously, being a trader, you adapt to more working through the morning hours, especially if that's your better sessions. But yeah, so thanks for having me. I'm based in Polokwane. I grew up in Polokwane. In 2014, I went to University of Pretoria on a dream to actually get my degree in entrepreneurship. So what people don't always understand, for me to get there, obviously there wasn't funding, there wasn't money from parents or something. So I started working at probably about the age 10, started a tomato farm, and obviously through that grew, and obviously always knew that I had to do something for myself, something business related. So when I was about 16, my dad was into security. So I got into the scene, started, I think the first thing I did was put in cameras. I can't remember if those cameras were alarm first. So I started putting in cameras and alarms, and through that, obviously, I got to university. So studying at university, I was working at Howie. Obviously, we all know the phone brand or laptop or what the roots is as well. So I was working at Howie in Sandton while studying at University of Pretoria. So usually I had to get up at about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I left, did my day job, and then came back. And after that, obviously attended classes, which obviously I didn't do. And yeah, was obviously just lucky to stay on university. So about 3 years in, I met Quentin Moody, which was my best friend at the time. And I just said to him one day, like, I'm working 20 hours a day just to get to a point where I can actually just stay alive, just stay on university. And then the one day, the lady that was educating us said to me, if I get this degree, I can become a business consultant. And I'm like, well, I'm not here to consult for businesses. I'm here to learn how to
Start your
create
own business,
businesses.
yeah.
Yeah, through entrepreneurship. That's what for me entrepreneurship is, not consult. And she said to me, now, if I get this degree, I can get 10,000 Rand a month. And I'm like, well, I'm making that at the moment in security. So what's the point of me even being here if I have to pay 3 to 500K for 4 years? Then I have to only start making that money back. So people will say, well, with my first job, if I get 20K, then I'm making 20,000. But you actually have to make that 500K back before you actually start making money in that sense. So then me and Quentin went on a thing where we were just trying to start businesses, from bracelets that will alert a company if older person will have a heart attack or their heart rate spikes or anything, to trackers in kids' watches. So we had so many ideas. We even wanted to bounce Wi-Fi from mobile devices. So your phone will pick up Wi-Fi router and it will keep bouncing and everyone will have Wi-Fi. So obviously, we were told it's a stupid idea and it won't happen. Now it's happening. But we tried so many different things. Then one day Quentin just saw this guy that trades Forex. And we're like, well, let's attend the classes. And then he's like, no, it's 10K. I'm like, well, 10K for us. I mean, if you're getting like 2,000 Rand out a month, getting 10K is like a 6 months process. So we started selling things like a normal guy will do if you if you want to get somewhere in life. And we sold our PlayStations, TVs, laptops, all that to attend this class. And then we learned this strategy, if you will call it that. And from there, we were like, okay, we were hyped. We were in this. We were obviously putting in a lot of work on our own as well. Not just saying, well, let's take this document and just trade. So we're putting in our own work, studying the market, trying to understand this. And we ended up selling, I think I got it was a Samsung E7 or something like that. It just got out. My brother gave it to me. It was his upgrade. And then he gave it to me to start trading now. And I actually sold it 2 days after that for about 8,000 Rand. And the guy I sold it to is actually one of my students now. So I think his name is Shakes. Is that's what they call him, is Shakes. I sold my phone to him, and now he's one of my students. So through that, we obviously started funding the accounts, and I just started hitting. So in the course, we didn't learn like risk management, that type of things. So within like 6 days, I think it was the Tuesday, I was up like 34,000, and I'm literally crying, phoning my mom and telling her like the situation has changed. We're gonna be okay, and life's gonna change in a sense. And as I was putting up that hype, obviously that's the one thing I learned: never tell people what you're doing. First do it and then tell them. That's a very big lesson, because obviously you end up disappointing yourself and other people as well. So it was about a Wednesday or a Thursday, and we just woke up at about 6 o'clock. And obviously, we do have Australian dollar news usually at about 3 o'clock, 3:30, and yeah, interest rate came out. And back in the day, so obviously I've been trading for about 6 years plus. So back in the day, the interest rate used to move and have a way bigger impact than it has now. I see the news is coming back. CPI is is doing its thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when we went to about 3-4 year drought where news was just like 200 points. So back then, we just woke up and I was on minus 20,000, because I didn't know what a stop loss was. It was just like big lots and you just make money. And I just started, I woke up once and I'm like, what do we do? And our thought process was, let's deposit more money. So
Hey.
we got some money from our friends. I found my mom, she got a loan from this Woolworths thing. And yeah, I deposited about just over 40K and ended up losing it all. So yeah, we were
So the
obviously back.
interest rates went against you.
Went against us.
I had exactly the same thing. Also, I think it was about 5-6 years ago. And also very fresh into my journey. I was trading Euro New Zealand, and
Oh yeah, 100%.
and I was also, I don't even know. You know, the weird thing is, guys laugh, like I didn't even look at the economic calendar back then. And I still remember I was still smoking back then, cigarettes, and I was sitting like, I think it was around about 12 o'clock, and I'm in about 15-20K drawdown as well here in New Zealand. I was actually long here in New Zealand, and I was sitting there and you're smoking your cigarette and you're looking at these positions, and I don't know why you think if you're looking at the position it's going to go to your favor. And I was maybe on the last drag of that cigarette, and all of a sudden everything flips blue and it starts running, and I'm like, what the heck? I almost fell off the couch there. And then later I realized that the Reserve Bank of New Zealand were actually cutting rates, and that boosted the euro against
to the top side. Yeah.
And back then you would have a 300-400, maybe 500 pip move in that session, where today you wouldn't really see a 400-500 pip move unless it's like with the BOJ intervention, or now with the guilds.
Yeah, exactly.
What's in the UK. But it's interesting that you mentioned you traded Australian dollar, I traded New Zealand dollar, and but yeah, that's actually what got me hooked. Maybe it was a bit of a luck of the draw, but that was
But I think it's still interesting. So we were trading. So about 3 years into trading, we had I had a 280,000 rand account. Quentin had a 80,000 rand account, and same thing. We were, at time we were like 21, 22, and we were playing Fortnite every night. I mean, you're a kid, you're making money, you're living in your own house, and the boys play Fortnite, and we obviously chat about indices and Nasdaq and all that. And obviously, as a trader, you learn the hard lesson somewhere where 11 o'clock the spread pulls open, especially on NZD pairs. Crazy. So you have to obviously move your stop loss a little bit bigger or something. So we used to go to a point where if it's close to entry, we just take our stop losses out at 11 o'clock because of the spread pulling open. And I think we were running about a 5 lots. He was running crazy lots on that small account. But I remember the same thing. You're sitting with your phone in your hand like this on MetaTrader, just watching your profits the whole time. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm putting it up like that, and we're actually watching the screens. And as we're playing Fortnite, it's just like everything stops. and it was the interest rate of the NCD. I think it was 0.0005. And yeah, was like went from probably about $2,000-$3,000 to minus 150,000 rand. And he said to me, "What do we do?" I'm like, "Just close. There's nothing to do. We've been through this." And yeah, we actually closed it.
And it
So
popped back, or
yeah, no, it didn't go. Luckily, we closed because it just kept going.
okay.
So then he was quite emotional about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, well, I'm still up because that account started with like 30K. And I'm like, oh, it's a big loss, but we can manage. And then he panicked and sold or bought with a 5 lot to make his money back on the retracement. And yeah, that didn't that didn't go too well. And then he started panicking the whole time. And I'm like, let me just manage this.
Yeah, I think everyone's got a different story with where things went in their favor, and also where you got the other side of it.
Went against them.
I've told the story as well where I had a very decent week and I was still working as an engineer, and I got the Friday off early, and I thought, let me get stuck into the NYSE session, and gave back literally like 80K worth of profits for the week. Didn't stop there, gave like another 50K away, and it was a cuck weekend after that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, well, if you're losing money,
it's not really about the money. That's the weird thing that I tell the guys. It's actually how I see it. It's about the time you spent looking for the trades. You were managing the trades, the emotions that has gone with it. So it's like, even though it's not like a 9 to 5 where your time spent equals money in the bank.
Results, 100%.
But with trading, it's like if you had a string of good wins and now all of a sudden you give it back on one day, it's like basically that entire week worth of work is just gone to raised. It's like it never happened.
So what happened to us is we were running a fund, FTG Capital. So we were at my brother's wedding. We were in a GBPA short. I'm not joking, about 103 lots deep. Was a big account. And we woke up that Sunday. It was 23 or 27 March. And then that Sunday morning, about 2, 3 o'clock, my phone rings. And Frank phones me, it's like, open the chart, but I can hear him throwing up.
Ooh.
And I'm like, what's this? And I opened the account, it's running on minus 10 million. And now I'm thinking like, same thing, capital wise, we're fine. Nothing will happen. We won't blow the account, but it's like, what do you do? Number one, the time you've spent building that account up. I mean, this is a fund. So it's been 2-3 years of building consistency. We haven't taken one loss on the fund in that I think 2 years and 6 months. We didn't take one loss. And now we're running on minus 10 million, number one. Number two, how long are we going to take to get back to break even? So now you have to start doing that calculation. Do you take the loss and build the capital back? Do you run the drawdown out, which will happen, which we eventually did? So we got to about 4 months in. I literally left my house, me and Quentin. We moved back to my parents, not because of financial reasons or anything. Like we couldn't handle that pressure anymore. I mean, we're in young 20s. Now you're running on minus 4 million, 6 million. So I said to my mom, can we just stay in this room for just as long as this drawdown's on? All you need to bring us is just food the whole time. We don't want to leave the room. So we got a 55-inch TV on the wall, and we just put that one chart on there with the profits running up and down. I was drinking this anxiety pills every day. And yeah, we eventually closed 6 months in on minus 2.2 million. So once again, capital-wise, we're still fine. Investors were still way up and all that, but it was just like so much hard
emotional, and it's like an emotional drain.
100%. I couldn't trade. I didn't execute a trade in the market for 6 months, and everyone was like, "No, are you done trading?" And I'm like, "I'm not done. It's just I'm 22 years old. I lost 2.2 million." It's like the emotions that's with it is bad.
And Ruan, what do you? Obviously, I've heard now a lot of forex pairs. Do you primarily trade forex pairs, or what is your primary instruments that you trade?
Well, I have about 5 Forex pairs, and then I trade Nasdaq. So it's a different, or I trade USD, USD, GJ, GU, GA, and then USD CAD and gold sometimes. But gold mostly I trade on my retail account, and then indices I do trade. So Nasdaq I trade on the fund longer term. So I look for longer term positions, obviously scale it in. And then on my retail account, I obviously trade Nasdaq as well, but more in the sense of account flipping. So I'll deposit 2, 3K to 5K, whatever it is, and I'll try and leverage trade it. So obviously, risk to reward, you're opening yourself up to like 1 to 10 risk to reward. So you only need to win 1 out of 10 times to actually be profitable. Not that I'm winning that, that's just for educational purposes that people don't always understand. Because I think they always see a person funding 5K and they're like, yes, this guy's killing it. But he probably lost like 1 or 2 accounts before that. But it's just about that risk to reward. That's all it is.
So, so you'll say the majors and those pairs you mentioned, those are your main pairs you trade. And then, do you day trade, or you swing trader, more scalp trader?
No,
what do you classify yourself
as? so I'll say I'm more of a day trader. I do try and swing, but yeah, it doesn't turn out in my favor, and not for the reason that it doesn't work out. It's just like I don't have that patience to hold. For me, I've explained it multiple times to, especially to my girlfriend, my friends, my family. I'm like, it just feels good making money every day. If you're holding a position and you're swing trading it, now in 3 weeks' time, you're like, okay, yes, I'm running 4 times the amount, but it's like you haven't seen that money coming back in. So it just feels like you're actually doing nothing. For me, that's a personal thing. So then I moved it to day trading. So now I look for more of a day trading type of positions. And I'm doing indices. I'll do more of a sculpting sense, but I won't say it's sculpting. It's more like an intraday swing, where I basically take entries and I'll hold it for however. Once again, so for me, it's not about day trading or swing trading. It's you enter a position and then you manage your trade. If it just closes above, makes a new high, you know it's going to continue to the top side. So there's no reason in closing it if you know it's going to swing up. So I'll say I'm more managing my trades than swing trading or day trading. Or
sometimes trying to take like a day trade, sometimes it will turn into a swing, for instance.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel that's one thing that also kills traders, is not knowing where to take profit. And the big thing is if you constantly pay yourself in the market, because here's the interesting thing, which I think traders don't realize, is that you will never be happy with where you exit the trade. Like I've seen it where I've taken, say, maybe 300 pips, 400 pips. I close it out after 30 minutes. You see it's going up again, and you're like, why didn't I hold? And
exactly.
And then you get instances where a trade could have been up a few hundred pips, comes back to entry, and then you're like, why didn't I close? So you'll never be happy unless you get into that mindset of, if I constantly pay myself in the market, then there's not going to be an issue of this trade is not enough, or this trade I held too long. So rather pay yourself, like you also mentioned, where you can see something happening, than trying to hold it out and think it's going to continue up for 6 months, which is not the case.
I think that's a good point. It's obviously with all my students as well, I see them and they're like, okay, well, I only have 500 Rand. But I mean, even if you're doing 500 Rand and you're making 300 Rand for this month, which is a lot, 60% a month is a lot. People don't get that. But let's say you make 300 Rand. Obviously, you're going to risk more due to the fact of you having lower capital. But just take out 50 Rand. It sounds stupid, but you seeing that 50 Rand coming in from an outside source, then your salary or your monthly allowance, whatever it might be, you just seeing that money coming in will excite you. Because remember, if you only have 500 Rand, the hundreds does excite you. I think that's if you're used to getting 10K a month, If you get a 2K into your bank account, I promise you that will excite you because you're used to that certain numbers coming into the market. And I think that scale obviously keeps climbing, but people don't always get that. People say you do need a lot of money to trade. And I do agree with that. But the same thing, like I started literally with $250, and everything that I've created was from the $250. I've never gotten a loan from someone. I've never gotten capital from someone. So you can start, but obviously the process becomes longer. Obviously easier to start with 100K if you know what you're doing. But in a sense, you can start with $250 and build that up if you consistently know what you're doing. But I think problem is obviously the emotions. You stay consistent for 3 months, and then all of a sudden the confidence gets too much, and you obviously overtrade, and you end up blowing that account. And that's I think the main problem with most traders.
What I've seen is that traders, like I've helped a few traders as well, and they do, like you mentioned, do very well. 3-4 months, they manage their risk quite well, and now they on, say, a 7 out of 10 win streak, and then they come on the 11th, 12th, and 13th trade over leveraging, and then I ask them, I'm like, why would you, after doing such a nice build up? And then it's like, no, but imagine how I had bigger lot sizes on 7 out of those 10 trades. But I told him the big thing is the probability. So there, the 7,
exactly.
you caught the 7 wins. And now once you size up, you're going to catch the 3 losses. And it's not always
100%.
that way, but for some
It
reason,
feels like it.
that
It
is
does.
how it works. As soon as you try and size it up, and it's like, I've won 5 in a row. If I just had 10 lots on the table and not 2 lots, it could have been a different story. And then it usually ends up in a disaster.
Being bad. That happened to us with, so we were trading news back in the day, before all the new policies and stuff. I mean, this is 6 years back. So we used to, I can't say how, but we used to trade news. And just about 2 seconds before the news, so we used to hit like a sell or buy, whatever it is. And we obviously use 100% bonus. You have more leverage, and you use 1 to 500 leverage. So now you're taking a $500 account and you're hitting like a 5 lot to a 7 lot. So if it immediately goes your way, like CPI did this week, then obviously you make like 80,000, 90,000. So Quentin came to a point where we were doing it every month, making like 50 to 100K from this news events. And then the one day, he was just like, I see the smile on his face. It's different today. Something's happening. And he decided to take all that profits, put it in one account, and he just went for the million. he literally went for the million. So what happened is he sold, and the news event had just like a 20-point spike to the top side, and then it dropped. So blew the account, and it went to like 3 million virtual money, but it blew the account before it got to 3 million. And I'm like, that's what happens if you go off your plan. It's exactly. It's like the market knows. There's somebody watching. I think that's why people always say the broker trades against you, because it's people sitting there. And as soon as you do something different, then the market goes against you. And like, yeah, this broker trades against me, which is obviously not the case.
Yeah, the thing is that guys don't realize is the collective psychology of the market. If you just look at what happened after CPI, where the previous CPI, I was actually marking it up and sharing it on Twitter, where I said, which is funny for me, is the previous CPI, not the one from this week, the previous one leading up to that, for instance, gold was rallying higher, so institutions were building short positions to bring it short. And I said the weird thing this week for me was that already before CPI, it was coming down. And I said, it's odd for me because they're going to do something weird where they tanked gold, but then brought it back immediately. And the same with NASDAQ as well. They tanked the indices to just bring it like an hour and a half later. It actually broke the highs of that day. And then on Friday, they parked it right in the middle of that CPI move. So there's a lot of psychology in trading and investing, because guys don't realize there's there's other people that are also involved in the market, and they also still human beings, even though there's a lot of algo trading going on in the market. It's still suspect to human emotions and what humans feel and what they do. So a lot of times that collective emotion comes through on the charts, and that is what you saw on Thursday, which was insane.
100%.
I was like,
It was crazy.
Looking at that initial move, I was like, okay, it's going to be this. I didn't trade it, but I said, looks exactly like what the previous CPI did. And then all of a sudden, there wasn't even any headlines or pivot talks or anything.
Nothing.
It was literally just a straight push back to the upside. So I think a lot of guys got killed on that.
A lot. That's what I was explaining to people is, so if you look at the volatility of that event, so I mean, most people were looking at the previous one and expecting the same result. So we had guys that put in sell and buy orders because of the previous one. So they were like, yeah, my orders were moved. And I said to remember, if you now looking at this market, I mean, it's not just us trading at one company that trades a specific market. There's billions of dollars running in this market at the moment. So obviously with that orders being taken out, there's a lot of people that went long on NASDAQ, 100%. And that orders getting taken out of the market is the reason for that spread pulling open like that. And obviously that volatility, because now all the funds and the banks that were shorting that thing from the top, that pressure coming down on that market was just insane. I think I haven't seen a news event like that in quite a long time. So it's coming back, which is a good thing, I'll say.
Yeah, it's just with all of these events, what I tell guys is this year is not the same as any other year in terms of fundamentals. Like,
not at all.
Do not think that this is something that happens every year. Like I've traded through the 2016 hiking cycle, the trade wars, Brexit, all of that. But what makes this year unique fundamentally is that you add the thing in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. You've got basically all the central banks going on a tightening policy. You've got the bond market in the UK the last 2 weeks almost collapsing. You've got quantitative tightening, where from 2008 we had QE. So it was central banks were backing your normal banks throughout that. And now all of a sudden it's like banks are left out in the open. And the central banks are like, you actually need to clean up your own shit now. We're not going to give you a backstop. Where the Bank of England was the first one to say, okay, look, we're gonna hold the backstop, but you guys need to sort out your shit internally. So it's a very sensitive market fundamentally.
100%.
So if you're trading in this market, especially pound going into Monday with Liz Truss and that tax deal that they're working on, just be careful. Most probably this video won't be out by Monday, but you can look in hindsight. We did warn you about GBP volatility on Monday. Ruan, lastly, before we go, what is your plans for years obviously coming to an end, but what are you guys planning for 2023 that's on the card, something that you're building? I see there on the back of your wall, you've got all of your motivational quotes and your memory wall and all of that. But what's the plans for 2023?
Yeah, it's the plan is to obviously have a big year. For me, and a new year is just another year. I work straight throughout the years. I usually just take breaks when I'm tired. So I'm never in that mindset of December is just another month. But for next year, we're building a lot of things. In the sense of apps. I'm actually building about 5 new businesses. 2 of them which is inside trading. 3 of them that's outside trading. I can't obviously touch on a lot of things. I'm also building something in the trading industry that's never been done before. So the plan is to do it in, I think it's July next year, to actually do something in the trading industry that's never been done before, that will bring traders together like never before. And then obviously something else that I'm building to get some transparency in the industry. I think we are obviously moving in a direction in the industry that I don't think is good for the industry in a sense. So one thing I'm trying to build, obviously, in a sense of an app, is trying to get more transparency back in the industry so we can save something that's good. I was at the talk the other day where a guy said, when we started trading, and I'm pretty sure you started trading before me, based on this conversation. So then the success rate was like 5%. At the moment, we're sitting on about 16%. So the numbers are changing, which is very good. But I still think it can be better in the coming years. But I think there's a lot of people that loses out on a lot of opportunities. And I mean, that stigma of saying to someone you're a Forex trader and they're like, oh, so you're basically scamming. And I'm like, no, it's not the same thing. It's actually a good industry, and it is something that you can be very profitable in. And I mean, we've seen it, even with, you've seen it as well, how many lives it has changed. And I think it can even impact more in way bigger ways than we understand if we actually just work together as an industry, to get together and work harder in just the right direction, if I can put it that way.
Awesome. So you've got a lot of things lined up. Yeah,
100%.
transparency, unfortunately, in the industry, I always tell people, please use your brain. And if this if this offends you, I do apologize. But honestly, guys, there's simple questions you can ask. But let me not get into that. But yeah, so be open-minded. Do not be a sheep. Do not believe everything you see, and ask the right questions, and you will get the right answers. Ruan, really appreciate you having you on the call. I would like for us to have another call where we can maybe run through some charts.
100%.
Yeah, maybe highlight some things that you've picked up, and we can share some technical analysis with the viewers. And yeah, guys, Ruan's all of his social links will be in the description of this video. Be sure to check him out on Instagram. I'll also see on his Instagram he's got a Linktree address there, so you'll see all of his stuff on there. Do be sure to check him out. It's Ruan_Landsberg_SA. Give him a follow. I'm actually following him right now. And yeah, thanks, Ruan. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, and then
all of the best for the rest of the year. And most probably we'll maybe get you on before the end of the year. Otherwise, we'll have Ruan on first thing in the new year. Thanks so much.